Ladies and gentlemen, I am glad welcoming you to another malware analysis video. I recently came across an interesting malware sample. It is definitely stands out from other typical malwares. So in this video, I'm gonna dissect that malware and showcase what are all the techniques that are being incorporated by the malware to dodge to bypass the security engines. So why are we waiting? Let's begin. Now I about to proceed the malware analysis in this Linux distribution called Remnux, exclusively made for malware analysis. Hence, it is highly recommended to use an isolated environment whenever you are handling some sensitive, spooky malwares. So here we are. I created a folder called unknown, and I am holding a sample here in this directory. So let me unzip this. I am using 7-zip utility to unzip, and the password is typical infected. Perfectly extracted it. So here you can see the document name March underscore IMPE underscore 2021, and the document extension says it is DOCM, which means MS Office document enabled with macros. The M denotes macros. So let's try to confirm the same. Yes, it is. It's Microsoft document Word 2007 plus. I clearly explained in my previous malware analysis that this specific Microsoft 2007 plus version denotes the OpenOffice XML file. It is not the OLE format. There are difference between the OLE format and the OpenOffice XML. So let me explain how to uncover the macros from the documents like Microsoft Word 2000 plus. So let's do that. Here I am having this document. I am taking copy of it and pasting it as a zip document. Nothing I changed, only pasting it as a zip document. So now here I can see it's a zip document, and I try to unzip it, unzip the document, and hyphen QQ for the quiet operation, and hyphen D to specify the name. I'm just uncovering that zip file and putting all the contents inside a folder. And I'm simply mentioning the folder name as folder, and eventually mentioning that zip file. Giving enter, so it is already done its job. So the folder created, and I'm getting into the folder. So here is the folder, and I can see the content here, the content of that specific uh, Microsoft document file with macros enabled. So it is nothing but it's a file system, a structure within the file. You can simply keep in mind like this. So here are the files. I'm using tree command against the folder to showcase the contents of the specific thing. Let me install the tree application here. Now installed the tree package. So let's apply it against folder. So here you can see the tree structure. So everything is appended with .xml extension. So that is why we are calling this kind of documents as OpenOffice XML. And the first folder, the first file always content types.xml. And you can see the rest of the files here. You can see in this directory there are some RELS file, some relationship files. So this is, threat actors can manipulate these files as well to dodge the antivirus systems, but that is the concept for separate video. So now we need to focus on this specific file, pba project.bin. I'll tell you why. Before that, let me clarify the macros. Let me showcase the macros present in this. And in order to showcase that, I am using OLE tools. If I give OLE tab, I can see all the OLE tools are pre-installed in this. So I'm using these OLE tools against the specific DOCM file. So here I can apply. So now you are seeing the specific file which carries the macros. We already witnessed this in that uh, the previous command when we use the tree command. And you can see the list of streams, data streams. In that, you can see there are two streams that contains macros. The letter M denotes macros. So it is confirming that this document carries the macros. So I'm just using the same file against, I'm just parsing the same file using the OLEID utility. So let's do the same. uh, it says the OLE format false, which means it is not the OLE format. Both OpenOffice XML and OLE are different. So let's try to uncover this with OLE VBA since it carries the macros. And so here you can see there are some suspicious contents present in this document, and they gave what are the suspicious things are present here. And it is saying that keyword environment, it might be an environment variable, and also the keyword open may open a file, write may write to a file, create text file. So these are all the spooky parameters, spooky keywords present in this attachment. And you can see the wscript.shell, create object, base64 strings, and finally you can see some IOCs. We found some URLs here, and also a file called fr.bat. So here is the content. If I scroll a little bit above, I can clearly see this specific stuff here, the Visual Basic script. So let's try to put all these contents within a separate file before continue our analysis. Hence, using the OLE VBA against that specific file, and I'm using hyphen decode to get the decoded outcome, and adding everything inside the uncovered VBA file. I'm simply creating a VBScript file and putting every content, every outcome within that. So here is the document. So let's try to open with Sublime Text. Now I can try to analyze this specific Visual Basic script. So here you can see the macro, and as we've seen, from our OLE dump.py, there were two streams that carried the macros. One stream name is this document, and another stream name is module1. And this document stream is empty, and module1 stream contains something. Here they defined a function called auto open, and they are specifying a variable here, an object here with the keyword dim. So you can refer my previous video to understand this. Also, you can Google to understand this keyword. And dim my URL as string. So if you use as string, along with this dim and the object name, then it denotes it is Visual Basic for application. It is not Visual Basic script. Actually, there are some small differences. When you are using it in the Visual Basic script, you have to remove this specific thing and you need to execute. And I can see the URL, the variable is defined here, and the variable is also assigned with its value. So here is the URL, spooky one. Domain is not familiar, so we need to be aware while handling this. And also there is another URL, looks like .onion.pet. I'll explain what is .pet extension. Let's see the next one. Again, they are creating a variable as object and setting that variable and creating the Microsoft.xml HTTP. And again, they are referring this specific variable and opening get URL. You can see if I choose this URL, it is simply referring this specific onion.pet URL. So here it is sending some get request to this specific URL, some username and password, and they also mentioned it as false. So this is all about sending the web request to this URL. And let's see this specific one. And this one, actually, it is sending the request to the first URL named as my URL, and the same thing is happening here. So if I scroll a little bit down, I can see the specific win HTTP request.status is 200, which means this specific my URL is reachable, then it performs all this operation like creating adodb.stream, so which means it tries to download that content, and also once it receives that content from this specific URL, it looks like the content is an image file .jpg file. Once it receives, it is saving that file as pic.jpg. So it is simply downloading and renaming the file and saving it as another file with another name. Sorry, the same file with another name. And so this is all about this specific if statement. And here you can see a few other uh, para, and here I can see that they are defining one more variable, one more object here, and they are also defining that object and opening the text file. So they are opening this specific content in a text file for reading, and you can see they are again referring this object at the end of the stream. So this keyword is very important. I'll explain. And also they are defining another variable and reading line by line, and simply they are writing that specific line here. So that is what the specific para defines. And if I scroll a little bit further, defining another variable and same file system object and opening that specific uh, file, creating a new file called picb64.txt. So what they are doing, they are simply creating a text file with this name, and they are writing the contents that they read from this specific file into this specific file. All right, now they are reading the content from that image file and putting it in this file, and they are also referring that specific the latest file in an object, and they are also creating another object wscript.shell, and they are doing some activity on this. So let's see what is exactly going on here. So they are trying to create wscript.shell, and the environment process looks like they are referring some environment variable and item user profile. So looks like they are trying to get some user profile details seemingly, and you can see this they are simply concatenating this the result of this user profile with this specific string. It is simply referring yeah, and of course the dot bat refers the batch file. So they are simply concatenating here, and the next thing they're creating one more object called scripting.filesystem object, and they're creating a file system and creating a text file. So what is the input file? So they are creating this and for reading. So what is reading? So if you try to find what this is, what I mean, what is the function open text file in that create object, you probably get to know what is exactly doing, and I think it is all trying to read that specific file, that pic.base64. I think yeah, that is what it is doing. It is simply opening this specific file for reading, and you can see the subsequent line. The content it's an object, and they are referring the file and reading all. The read all is a function to read the content of the file. So this is about reading that specific pic b64.txt. I think that b64 denotes the base 64. So if I scroll a little bit down, there is another line, another paragraph, and it denotes the create object msxml2.dom document, and it is creating an element base64 and the data type bin.base64, and I think it is trying to uncover the base64 here. So that must be the action of this specific paragraph. And if I scroll a little bit further, I can see another object creation adodb.stream, and they are referring that specific object, and they are calling the method for that object, and so I think that is what they are doing. They are saving all those decoded stuff, decoded base 64, in a file. So that is what the purpose of this specific paragraph. And there is a message box created, and the message box shows here is the message that is being displayed. It is not English, so let's try to find what language it is. So I am using Google Translate in order to spot that. So let's try to check what language it is. So if I paste this, it is French. French detected, and the word is, yeah, Microsoft Word update is required. Oh, so here is the message. Uh, a scary one, not a scary one, an information, a simple notification message, and it tries to trick its victims. So that is what we clearly understand from this. Uh, and if I scroll a little bit further, active document dot follow hyperlink address and output file. So let's try to find wherever it referred. So nothing. So it looks like it reads the content and displays throws the message box here, and that is the end of this specific Visual Basic script. And here you can see this image, uh, and it is a snake image. They drawn this image very nicely, and yeah, this is the end of this specific Visual Basic script. From this we got to know everything begins with this specific my URL, and also this specific URL, the second URL is being used in a place. So but if I say this specific object, I'm just trying to identify whether this specific object is referred anywhere. So it is not referred anywhere. So from this, I can simply understand this specific URL is just uh, accessed by using the get method with no username and password. So they set the false here, and that is what is happening on this URL. But this URL is not like this, not like that. So because this my URL is referred somewhere, you can see they created an object, this one, and they referred this object here in that next if statement as well, and they also recording that response body here, and they are trying to write it in this specific file. So what we need to do, we try to check this specific URL now. So let's try to do that. I am simply using the wget utility in Linux to download the specific content. If I give, now it is being downloaded. It is already downloaded. The file name is ship3.jpg. So let me check the file size once. It is JPEG image data, J5 standard 1.01. So let me try to open this specific image by with EOG utility. Yeah, it is the fictional character, a fox character that comes in the cartoon series Dora the Explorer. So that is the image. I am suspecting it is simply downloading the image file. When you check at the high level, nothing is suspicious, but there are some techniques used by the hackers to hide the sensitive data within the image. And the technique is called steganography. So why don't we check whether this image is holding any spooky things? So in order to do that, I need not to install any application. Instead, I can use some online utility to uncover the image. So let's do that. Um, Steganography, decode online. Let me try to find a useful tool. Now let me try to add the file, and where is the directory? Unknown and ship3.jpg. And when I click decode, it simply gives me bunch of blob nonsense, some non-readable characters, which means it displays the the original image uh, binary format, the machine language. So nothing is useful here. So in this stage, what we can do? Uh, so let's try to check the strings of that specific file. There is a reason for saying this. Let me tell you that. So here, when I was checking the specific Visual Basic script, I got to know they were referring. I mean, they downloaded the specific picture and they are referring that object, and they added a method at the end of string. So why don't we check for strings and try to check the complete string? So let's do that. Uh, so ship3.jpg. So let's try to use the string utility. So here is the utility. Ah, yeah, look at this. It completely executed, and the things that is showing above are the strings of the image. And if I scroll down to the bottom, I can see random characters with numbers, and also it is ending with equal equal. It is nothing but base 64 format. Equal sign to pad for padding. So let's try to save this specific base 64, or we can directly try to decode this. So I'm using the, maybe 1 second. It is pasting twice. Let me. Now I pasted properly, and I'm using base 64 utility to decode this. Yeah, here I can see I got some meaningful outcome. I'm simply gonna save this specific outcome as uh, let me save it as Sublime stage 2 decoded dot txt. It is not text file actually, so let me try to give it the name anyway. And if I see this, it looks like from the syntax, it looks like a batch file. So let's try to highlight the batch file here. Yeah, it looks like a batch file. So I'm just saving this, and you can see the PowerShell command is embedded here. So why don't we replace this colon? This is the line terminator character. So why don't we do this with semicolon with semicolon and the new line character. So I am simply replacing all. Now I can see, I can read it in a better way. So let's try to do what it gives to us. Yeah, PowerShell is, it is throwing no profile and non-interactive, which means though the PowerShell runs these commands, it won't display any window. It will run, it will execute all these commands at the back end. So non-interactive, that is what. And the command is echo again the same French language, the French message, and I can see dollar script new object network dot web client. So it looks like it is creating a network connection to this specific URL, chocolatey.org, install.ps1, and IWR, invoke web request, that is the PowerShell commandlet, and again it is referring to the specific URL, use basic parsing, and IEX, invoke expression. So it downloads this PowerShell script, and it also detonates that specific install.ps1 script with this IEX commandlet. And further, I can see once it installed this specific thing, it tries to upgrade a package. So let's try to find what is this chocolatey .org. Let's try to find that. Chocolatey software. Yeah, here is the definition. Chocolatey, it looks like a legitimate software. It's a package manager for Windows operating system. So yeah, you can see how weird this malware is behaving. It is using a legitimate package manager. Let's see what it is doing by using that. It downloads a specific PowerShell script from that website. So let me go to this specific URL. Uh, let's see what it gives to me. Yeah, here is the stuff. It looks like a PowerShell script. Yes, it is a PowerShell script. What it is doing, this PowerShell script is just to install this Chocolatey package manager in Windows operating system. So that is what it is doing. And the script is simply calling this PowerShell script in command, and it is detonating it. So once it executed this PowerShell PS1 script, uh, the Chocolatey package manager is installed. So once the package manager is installed, then any other package that the hacker wants, that can be downloaded. So that is what they are doing here. They are also trying to upgrade the Chocolatey, and once they are done that upgrading, they try to install Python 3. So here is the first thing. It is using the Python 3 language. I think that is the language that we need to focus here. And I can see there are further upgradation in the Python package, and also further installation in that pip by using the pip. Actually, they are trying to install some modules. A module called request to give the web request by using the Python, and PySocks. It's a proxy Python module. It provision the proxy feature in Python. So that is the, I mean, these are the two libraries being downloaded. And the next line denotes it tries to download another image. So let's see this URL. The URL is same as the previous URL that we witnessed. The same domain actually, not URL, the fhccu.com. So that is the domain. And here I can see it is trying to download different image this time, 7.jpg. And let's see what it is showing. So once it downloaded that image, it is simply referring that pic, and also the method here to string. I think in the same way it is downloading the image from this URL and trying to read the string of this specific image. So once it read the string, uh, I think it is getting some base 64. So because that is what they gave here, from base 64 string, and they try to decode that base 64 like we did before. And once they did that, they are putting everything within the file Microsoft security update.py. So I think once we download this image, once we get the base 64 from this image string, when we decode that, hopefully we will get the Python script. So let me check that. But before that, let's try to make sure what else it is doing. PowerShell Windows style hidden. So again, it is hiding a PowerShell activity, starting a process. So here is the interesting thing. It is starting a process, Windows style hidden, and Python. You can see the environment variables, user profile, searches, Microsoft security update.py. So what it is doing, it throws the PowerShell and it is trying to execute this Python script using PowerShell. So that is what happening here. And also the specific object is referred here, and the outcome of the specific PowerShell session is encoded into ASCII and thrown to the startup folder. Finally, here is the persistence. So they have some persistence. It is storing Microsoft security update.bat file in the startup folder. So here is the persistence and the start process. It is creating a process and the window style hidden the same, and also running the same script over here. So here is the thing. So this specific decoded batch script simply denotes it does some phenomena, some significant things here. So it is downloading that base 64, decoding it to decoding that Python script and executing that Python script, doing some persistence. Everything happens here. If I see further, uh, here is one more link. Microsoft Windows Start menu, programs, word.lnk. LNK is a shortcut file. Looks like it is creating a shortcut as well. And finally, there is a URL. So let's try this. Let's try to download the image from this same URL, same spooky URL. Uh, let's do that. W getting the image. Yeah, it is being downloaded. Looks like it has a bigger in size. It is bigger in size. Yeah, now it is downloaded. Perfect. Now let's try to make sure the file is image file. Yes, it is PNG image data. And as usual, let me open that image file. What is present here? Sorry, uh, JPG. Error interpreting the JPEG file. So, looks like the extension is deceiving here. Let me change this file extension to PNG and EOG once again, and 7.png. Yeah, once I modify that file extension and open the image, uh, it gives FHC seeks to protect you as we navigate COVID-19 together. Tip 5, do not travel if you are feeling flu like symptoms. Yeah, it is simply a COVID-19 advisory. So, yeah, that is what this specific image is. But uh, something fishy hidden in this image. So let's try to find that. I am using the string utility once again to exfiltrate the strings, and the image is 7.png, of course. So here it is. As usual, once I ran that string utility, at the end it gives me some juicy base 64 encoded strings. So let me copy this and put it in a file called 7 base 64 encoded dot txt. All right, now I got this. So why don't I try to decode that? I am echoing it. Base 64 utility I'm using. I'm not sure whether you are able to see this screen now. So I'm giving enter. So here is the stuff. Actually, it did some decoding. Here is the outcome. So I'm saving this as stage 3 encoded dot txt. Not txt, I think it looks like a Python file. Yeah, it is Python file. I am enabling the word wrap. So yeah, it is Python file. Actually, it calls the base64 directory, and there is one more stage of obfuscation. So it encoded all the Python script in base64, and also it is decoding in this specific script. So this is what the script stage 3 underscore encoder.py I named as. But if I look at this specific batch script. So that is the Python script that was downloaded as Microsoft Security Update.py. So that is what they did. And not here. Yeah. So if I go here, let's try to decode this specific script as well and find what is exactly happening. Eventually, this will give the Python script. So let's try to read. I am just echoing it once again, putting everything within the double quotation base 64 underscore hyphen space hyphen d for decoding. So here is the code. So finally we got the Python code. So let's try to see what exactly goes here. Yeah, a neat Python script. Um, what I can name this stage 4 decoded. So I'm simply saving it as stage 4 decoded. Stage 4 decoded dot py. Py extension is already there. So yeah. Yes, perfect. Now let's try to read through this and understand what the exactly this code is doing. Yeah, so it is Python 3. Here is the shebang, and it is calling three important functions from a module called the subprocess popen, pipe, stdout. And it is also calling requests re, socket, and time. Re for regular expression, request for sending the web request, and socket for creating the network socket, and time to refer the time in the Python script. And here they are simply referring to URLs, and they gave different object name here. And I think this kind of URL I have already seen somewhere, onion.pet. If you remember, we already witnessed this here in this Visual Basic script. Here you can see the URL mhocujuh. Let me check whether both are same not. Yeah, the first URL, it is same actually. Even the same URL is given here, but this URL is not used here in this Visual Basic script anywhere. So let's try to. No, I don't want to close this now. Yeah, let's continue to read. Uh, it is referring that socket library and get hostname. So let's try to find what this socket dot hostname gives to us. And in order to understand what this specific what the Python script is especially doing, I am simply creating a new document called test.python. So we can experiment all our uh, queries. We can experiment all those Python script lines here in this document. So let's try to do that. Um, yeah. So let me name this and setting the syntax as Python. All right. Now I'm simply importing all the process here. All the modules here, and two objects and a line here. So looks like it is creating a object called hostname and referring this and get hostname function. So let's try to read what this hostname is containing now. I am just printing hostname. Yes, perfect. Now it looks good. Let's try to run this. I'm pressing Control B in this IDE to run. Here I can see the outcome. It is just taking the remnants. Remnants is my host name. I'm currently in the Remnix machine, so that is what it is displaying. So what it is doing, it is simply getting the host name of the machine. So through this, the hacker can understand what type of machine it is, whether it is Linux machine, whether it is any other machine like that. So it will simply give the host name. So let's try not Linux machine. You cannot find the operating system as the host name can be customizable. So let's try to read further. So here I can see the hostname pattern, and they are adding one more line here to this, and I'm just trying to add this as well, and I'm printing the hostname pattern this time, saving and testing once again. Uh, a small modification, they added some a word colon and hyphen 00 with the hostname. So that is what this line is doing. And the header, they just created an empty list, and also the empty list, they are actually creating another list called, not a list, actually it's a dictionary, I guess. Uh, the key and value separated by colon. I think it looks like a dictionary, and here it looks like a list. So let's try to verify that. So once again, I think there is a dictionary called cache control, and the hostname pattern, they are referring this outcome here. They are just appending with this. I mean, they are just referring this as referral. And if I go further, uh, it is just trying to update the specific list with referrer first and cache control. So it tries to add this specific thing and also the cache details here in this header list. Now it is trying to make the header. So I'm simply copying this line as well, and let's try to read the header after all these things are done. So once everything is updated, I'm gonna print the header. Yeah, here you can see referrer, host, remnux, cache control, no cache. So this is the outcome after the specific line is executed. So this is the content of the headers. So if I scroll a little bit further, they are simply giving an empty string to check underscore command underscore one. All right. So there is define. I mean, they are defining a function. So first of all, let's see how long this program goes. It is not a big program, only 78 lines, 79 lines, and they are defining a function called recv all. So let's see whether this function is used anywhere. Nothing. This function is not used anywhere. Simply a dead part of this code. I'm commenting it out, not required. And the next function, get underscore cmd. They are defining another function. Let's see whether it is referred anywhere. Yeah, it is referred here in the program. So this is where the program call is. And also looks like this one is the main function, as uh, there is another function defined in between. So let's try to see what is the content of this specific function. And they are referring a request library to send the web request, and it is a get method, and they are defining the URL here within that get method. Uh, Command underscore URL underscore order. So what is the URL? Uh, Here is the URL, and you can see, if you see the function name, it is get underscore command, which means are they referring of getting the command from somewhere? So let's try to do check that. So let's see what sort of URL it is, and it is onion.pet URL, and let's see what that onion.pet URL is all about. So let's try to Google that. I have no idea what it is, so let's try to Google and read onion.pet Tor proxy. So let's try to read this definition. Onion.pet, tor to web darknet proxy. Looks like a proxy URL, and onion.pet act as a proxy between tor darknet, also known as hidden services, and you on a regular or clear net. So what it is, yeah, I think it is all about uh, connecting the clear net and the dark net. So that is what they are referring here. So tor to web, which means dark net to clear net. So it is acting like a proxy between this dark net and the clear net. So that is what here they are referring here. And also let's read further. How does this work? Replace the dot onion part of any tor hidden service with dot onion.pet, and we will proxy you directly to that hidden service. Yeah, here is the definition. So if any URL that ends with onion, that refers the dark web URL, which means you cannot simply browse such URLs in a normal regular browsers like Chrome and Firefox or whatever. You need a special exclusive browser to browse these kind of URLs, and that is called a Tor browser. And they are simply actually they are using this specific proxy to bypass that constraint, because since all the most of the users are using the clear net, they don't have that kind of browser. They are simply using this specific proxy to pass all the information to the specific dark web, and for that only they are using this onion.pet uh, URL extension, and Tor hidden service with, yeah, that is what they are doing here. Also they gave an example. If an onion URL looks like this, then its Tor to web proxy URL usually look like this. Simply they are appending one dot.pet. So from this we can simply understand this. It is getting clear that this is the onion URL of this specific malware author. So here are the two URLs, and also they are appending with .pet. So it is just a tar2 web proxy URL, and that is what the URL, and this URL can be accessed from the clearnet. So that is why they are using this proxy, and they are also sending the web request in usual manner to that tar2 web proxy URL, and along with the headers. What headers contain? We already seen here in the outcome. Uh, if I give Control V here, I can see the content of the specific header. Referrer, it is giving the host name in that header and also the cache control. So what it is doing, actually it is pretty neat and also some sophisticated technique, and also some weird technique at the same time. And it is accessing that Tor URL through the Tor proxy, and with the headers, and also it is decoding the content and stripping it, and displaying this specific outcome. So let's try to yeah, let's try to read the request now. What present in this specific REQ object? Let's try to do that. Control B, pressing again. If I do this, it is simply giving a HTML file. Let's go here, copying this and creating a new file, pasting it, and saving it as a HTML file. Yeah, file.html. Now let me open this specific EF file in Firefox. Firefox EF file. Yeah, it is simply giving back the same page that we have seen before. Yeah. Now let's try to check that Python script again. So at the end of this specific line, if the RE key equal to nothing, it is simply pausing. Otherwise, it is returning that REQ, which means it is returning that web page. So it is all about accessing that specific URL, command URL order. So here is the order URL. And let's see the next one, run underscore command function. And it is also being called here. And they are passing check underscore command as an argument. What is check underscore command? Let's see that. Check underscore command. Check underscore command is nothing but get command, uh, which means it looks like they are getting command through this specific function, and the specific function is all about accessing the URL that we have seen here, onion.pet, that specific URL. If I go here, why don't I try to access the URL from here? Let me do that. So whenever you are accessing the sensitive URLs like this, use VPN or some protection mechanisms. Uh, Here I am trying to access the URL. It is simply giving me the same page. Okay, now what we were talking about this run command where it is called. Actually, it is called here. It is passing check command as an argument. Check command already, I mean, that object check underscore command already tagged as the get underscore command. Here is the function call. And the outcome of this function call is nothing but the HTML page. So they are simply passing that specific Tor to web proxy HTML page as an argument here in the run command. So yeah, again it is proven they are getting the command from that specific URL and they are running that specific command here. So that is what these two functions denotes. Why don't we try to explore? Sorry, why don't we try to explore this function further? Uh, if I check this specific line, they are passing this command, and the command is nothing but that specific web page, right? And the specific web page is present in this req object. So I'm simply referring that req object in this test script instead of the cmd, and they are just splitting it with hyphen hyphen. So let me try to do that actually here. I'm simply referring the object and the method split. So let me execute this. It will take few seconds to access that onion URL, that onion.pet URL. Let's wait until we get the response. Meanwhile, let's see the next line. The command the cmd underscore split, and they are simply doing some indexing here. Okay, we got that outcome. So I'm just copying it and pasting the outcome somewhere in the same file. I'm just modifying the content of the same file, and let me execute the same thing with Firefox. This time I can see the same kind of URL, but there are some modifications. Actually, it tampered, the file tampered. Since we modified some things here, we did the splittings right with this hyphen hyphen. That is why it got modified. And let's see the next line. They are trying to index with 1. So let me do that as well. uh, Request dot split and indexing with 1. And also here is the once they indexed that, here they are getting that site URL. I think this is not the actual URL. This is the URL that they gave as a reference, as an example. But in real case, in this specific scenario, Since actually I am accessing from a Linux machine, uh, it is actually a Windows malware, because we have already seen it in the specific code, a batch script. It is actually establishing some persistence mechanism. From these things, we got to know it is like Windows like malware. So since we are running all these access requests from the Linux machine, it might not be throwing the proper response to us. So that's the reason. As we are sending the request through with the header, uh, with this header, that specific web server got to know my machine is not Windows, it is Linux. Hence, it is not responding me properly. But once I access the same URL from Windows machine, I will be getting the different response, I presume. And so this is what all about this command or split. So let me try to change the indexing. Instead of one, I'm giving two and sorry, uh, trying to execute that. What else I'm getting here? And meanwhile, they are just printing it here. Whatever the response they got, they are trying to print that. Okay, once again, I got a HTML kind of outcome. Looks like it tampered. I can see only half of the file. Again, anyway, let me modify this file, save it, and try to call it with Firefox. Yes, it is correct. Actually, the page looks little different. We just modified few things in that HTML document. Not HTML exactly. We just indexed that specific outcome, and that is what we are seeing. The indexed outcome. Index is 2 here. So yeah, let's try to move further. If I try to read further, I can see they are putting everything within this p open. P open, as I said, it is one of the functionalities of a library called subprocess. So let's try to find what it is exactly doing. And I'm simply copying this and pasting it over here. And the command is nothing but req here in my case. And I'm simply taking this off from that line and putting simply run here. All right. So once I run, what is the outcome? Let's see. I'm curious to see what we are getting. Yeah, here it is. Subprocess.p open object at, and it looks like a memory reference, a memory address. And let me try to rip that out. They are just bringing that object here and adding some methods to it. So I'm doing that here. Yeah, here is the outcome. Uh, /bin /sh. Seems like it is giving some shell actually. And when you execute the same thing in Windows machine, probably it would give you the Windows shell. And yeah, the technique is pretty neat till now. Let's try to find what we are having further. So this specific object is simply referring that shell details, and if there is no shell, I think it is typing some outcome like b.ok. So let's see the next one. It looks like we have some interesting series of comments. So let's see what it is. Socks. Socks is a library, a Python library for proxy. I still have a question here. Uh, they are referring that socks library here, module here, but they haven't referred this sock library here at the top. So that is what the doubt I am having. If anyone knows the answer to this, you can feel free to drop it in the comment section. And what it is doing. Uh, it is referring the socks and sock socket. It is simply creating a proxy socket. And if I go to the next command, it is showing a socket dot, it is creating a socket actually in network socket simply. And it is referring the socks library once again and setting the default proxy. Here is the interesting thing, uh, because the socks proxy is all about giving the anonymity to the specific traffic. So let's see what is socks 5. A SOX 5 proxy is more secure because it establishes a full TCP connection with authenticated and uses secure shell encrypted kind of thing. Uh, I think it is not the proper way they explained. SOX is internet protocol that exchanges network packets between client and server through proxy server. SOX 5 optionally provides the authentication. So only authorized users may have access to this server. So here is the reason why we could not access the specific that tor.pet URL. Uh, and also the SOX 5 optionally provides the authentication. So only authentication users can access it. And there is a difference between VPN and the SOX proxy, because the VPN can encrypt the entire traffic, but SOX is not encrypting any traffic, but it can give you the anonymity that you want. And practically, SOX server proxies TCP connection arbitrary provides SOX server proxies TCP connections into arbitrary IP address. So here is the term arbitrary IP address, which means the IP address could be changing, and it provides the means for UDP packets to be forwarded. So let's see the script now. They are mentioning some random IP address. I think this is the IP address of the proxy server. They are mentioning it as a proxy server IP, and the port is 9050. That must be the standard port. And the third parameter they gave it as true, which means they are simply referring that username and password as true, not giving any username and password. And what it is, I think this is the communication medium for this specific malware. This malware actually trying to communicate with the victim devices through this proxy, or the specific victim device is trying to uh, communicate the hacker infrastructure through this proxy. And also, as we have seen, it is present in the Tor website. Actually, it's a Tor site, so they are trying to communicate. The malware is trying to communicate the specific Tor site. And the set default proxy is the method. Uh, and let's see the next one. Here I can see a URL, but this URL is not the suspicious one. It's a legitimate URL. I'll tell you what is the purpose of this term bin, and they also mentioned a port here. So let's try to look what it is. And you can see the object is referred, and also they are mentioning the connect method here. And within the connect method, they are passing termbin.com and 9999 as an arguments. So let's try to find what it is. So what they are doing through this proxy, they are trying to connect this specific URL. Let's see what it is. As it is a legitimate URL, I'm simply trying to access that site. Okay, it looks like a bin, a basket to add the data. Let's see what it is. The usage. They gave a comment. They are echoing a message and putting. I mean, they are opening a netcat session, and they are putting this specific outcome into the second netcat session. Netcat session. So it's command line based tool. It looks like. So let's try to execute this command first and see what exactly takes place. What exactly happens. So just testing, that is the message, netcat.termbin.com, and the port number is 9999. We have seen the same port here in this specific Python code. Okay, let's continue. I gave enter. It is taking some time, few seconds. So let's see what's going to happen. I got an URL here. So let's try to access this URL. Yeah, look at this. Here it is. The message that I gave, that I echoed, just added into this specific website, into this paste bin. It is like acting as a basket, acting as a place to add our data. So it looks like some clear data exfiltration now took place here. So they are using this legitimate term bin, the utility, to extract, to exfiltrate the data. So far, we have seen some techniques. Earlier we have seen they used the Chocolatey, a legitimate Windows package manager, to install the Python program, and also now they are using a utility called term bin to actually paste the data into the site. So this is how they are exfiltrating the data, sensitive data. So far we can see all the signs of some remote access trojan or backdoor kind of thing. So let's see. Let's try to analyze further. I'm simply changing the message here. So let me add just testing now. I'm simply modifying the message and giving the enter once again. Whether it is giving the same URL or different URL. Let's check. Yes, it gave a different URL now. So I'm trying to access the the new URL that we got. Here is the message, just testing now. So it is very clear that whenever you are trying to paste something within this netcat session of the specific URL and the port number, it is simply giving a random URL to you, and the pasted data can be accessed in this random URL that is generated, given to us. So what the code is doing with this, to this utility, let's read it further. It is trying to connect that, and it is sending some data through that specific session, and it is using send function in this Python to do the functionality, and term bin.cnx, and that is the object, and they are receiving it. They also mentioned some size here. So let's see what next. Term bin URL created. We have already seen that utility is creating random URLs. So that is what they did here. They are just trying to uh, receive that uh, receive that object, and they are referring the receive object here and decoding it, stripping the specific hexadecimal character and stripping it once again. So let's try to understand what is going on here. Uh, I am simply using, I'm simply copying this thing, and let me try to, actually they are sending this out, the content that we have received on a specific thing. Run.std out.read. Run.std out.read is nothing but out. So they are sending this specific shell thing within, to this term bin, to this bin. So that is what they are sending actually. Uh, Now let me copy the same thing here and pasting it over here. So here I can remove all those indentation. Now I need to refer the whole thing as an object out, and I'm using this out object here. So let's try to print this term bin URL created. All right. Now when I try to read this, I should be getting that URL. It's taking some time. I should be getting the term bin URL. Uh, there is an error. Socks is not defined. So that is what my question earlier. We are not defining the socks library here. However, In malware, they gave without this socks library. So I'm simply referring socks here, and now try to run the same thing. I should be getting the URL, the term in URL. Now let's see, few seconds. What exactly goes? Yeah, here it is. I got that random URL with random characters. So once I go here and check, I should be seeing that that bin.bash. That's, I mean, not bash, bin.shell. So here is the thing. So this is the content that we send to that paste bin or term bin. Okay. Till this line, it is very clear. And what next? Uh, Actually, there is another object created called term bin header, and they are referring the hostname pattern and also the term bin URL created. So let's see what is happening here. Term bin pattern. Term bin pattern, we already checked this. It is simply uh, getting the host name of the machine and simply adding it with this specific host colon hyphen 00 thing. And if I go further, it is also adding that specific term in URL. So what it is doing, uh, here is the interesting stuff. What this malware is especially doing, actually, it tries to exfiltrate some data that is not yet, defined. That will be defined by the attacker, and once the that specific command executed, they will be getting some. I mean, there will be some outcome, right? That outcome will be transferred to that specific bin, term bin. They are simply pasting that specific outcome in the term bin. They got the URL and they try to send the URL through this term bin header. So that is what this specific function is doing. Pretty neat technique they are using. It is very, very neat and sophisticated. And I can say this as a peculiar technique. I haven't witnessed this technique before. So this is pretty much neat. And term bin, uh, term bin URL created, headers update. So here is the what they are doing. Now let me see where this term bin header is actually being used. So the term bin header is actually being updated with this header. So they are appending this header list here. So let me try to add this stuff. I'm simply appending this and removing those indentation and removing this specific line, and I'm simply gonna print headers in this point. Saving this and running, I should be getting the header value along with that term bin URL. Let's see what we are getting now. Yes, it is. You can see the header value. Now the header will look like this. Along with this host name, the type of device, it is also sharing the term bin URL as well. So this URL only, that specific what the specific data has been posted. So if I go to this URL, I'll be able to retrieve the data that is exfiltrated. So yeah, actually the hackers are not directly exfiltrating the data to their server. Instead, they are using termbin as an intermediate medium. So they make their victim to post the sensitive data over the termbin. From the termbin, they are retrieving the data. Somehow they manage to get the URL, not somehow over this header. Over this header they managed to got all those information related to the device and the specific URL. And also there is one more neat technique here. Since they are also getting the device details here in this header, they can verify from which device they are getting this URL response. If they are getting the URL response from some unknown device, some non-infected device, then they might not react to that request. So yeah, that is what all about this line. And if I go further, I can see there is a try method, and they are again using the request. They are trying to get the command URL answer. So let's see the second URL. We haven't seen this URL before, and we yet to check this URL. So I am just copying this URL and trying to paste the URL and see what is exactly present here. It's taking some time since it is onion URL. Is proxying the session. Again, the same outcome, the same kind of thing. If I see from, if I see with the naked eyes, it is simply the same kind of URL. I think we need to access this URL from the appropriate infected machine to get the proper response. Then only it will respond properly. So that is what the finding. Request get command URL and headers. So what it is doing, it is simply trying to post. We have seen the header, is containing all the sensitive information, right? I just explained this. Control B. If I give, it is giving the sensitive information. Information like the URL of that uh, the term bin, which is where the sensitive data posted along with the device details. So the header is created now, and once the header is finalized, this is the header. So with this specific header, they are sending the web request to this command URL answer. So from this, we clearly get to know there are two URLs. One URL is to send the order, and another URL is to collect the outcome, collect the response from the victim. So this is the purpose of these two URLs. And the technique is pretty much everything. The technique is very neat actually. The nothing further here. So if I see further, they're just printing it as an executed. So since the code is running in the backend, you will not get this statement over your command line. And headers dot update referrer. They are updating the referrer again with that list called headers, and if any exception, it is simply passing this. So this is what is the if condition actually. The if condition is the host name is equal to the specific thing. So here is the verification actually. Actually the specific code verifies whether uh, the, the attacker is getting response from the proper host. So that is the verification here. So if it is failed, then what it does, it simply print not for me. Yeah, so that is pretty much about this. And also you can see some sleep command, sleep function is used here. They are referring the time library. Here is the time library we already imported, and is sleeping for 10 milliseconds, I guess, and or 10 seconds, I guess. And after that, it tries to check the command for the get command. So every 10 seconds, it is probing the first URL, the order URL, and that is what we have seen in this get command function. The get command function is all about accessing the order URL, and it is accessing the order URL for every 10 seconds. So once the specific order is given, I think it is sleep for 20 more seconds, and it checks the command, and it is just passing that command as an argument within this run command function. And the run command function is all about uh, actually executing that command and trying to exfiltrate the data by using the term bin. So we haven't seen any sensitive data that is being exported, since actually it is not. I mean, we haven't seen there is no. We haven't seen any sensitive data that is being exported to attacker server. I mean that onion URL, because it is just paving the way for the hacker to give the further commands and ripening the outcome. So we can call it as backdoor because it is not comes in the remote access trojan category. To say precisely, it is a backdoor. So that is all about uh, this specific sample. So if I scroll down further, nothing is here. So this is the main function. It sleep for 20 seconds. And as I said, passing that command as an argument in this function. So it is running that specific command given by hacker. So this check underscore command is the command that given by hacker. And if I go to the get command, that is the outcome. Yeah. So once the command given by the attacker, uh, the specific function will get that command and it will pass it to this run command. Yeah. So let's try to uh, find this specific sample. Whether this sample is found anywhere. Actually, I'll reveal a secret at the end of this video. But before that, let me try to find the hash value of it. Click sum. So here is the hash value. Let me Google. So here is the blog 3 days ago, updated by proof point. So let's see what it is. And to be honest with you, I got this specific sample from this blog only. That is why that is the secret I told that I'm going to reveal at the end. So here is the blog. From this blog only I got inspired and I'm making this. So here they are giving all those stuffs. The little snake symbol that we have seen in the Visual Basic script. The same sample even I used to showcase. Here is the Python script. And if I scroll down further, I can see all the details that I just now explained. If I scroll down further, here is the indicators of compromise. And I'm just scrolling up further, that COVID-19 message that we have seen. And here is the chart. This chart clearly explains the flow of this malware. And the malware name is Serpent. So the researchers named this malware as Serpent. Serpent is nothing but snake. So let's try to do that. Let's try to get the real meaning of serpent. A large snake. Yeah. So the serpent is the malware name, and the malware type is backdoor, and it targets the French entities in unique attack chain. I think based on that Google Translate that message, they came to the conclusion it is targeting the French organization. And if I see the target, if I see the flow here, same thing. It begins with macros, PowerShell command, Chocolatey downloading the Windows Package Manager, Python, pip, Python shell, term bin to post all those outcome, and the batch script for obfuscation. The batch script for adding some persistence, and also the Python script that we have seen, we have explored just now, and the image files PowerShell, and once again, two image files we have witnessed. So yeah, this is the malware that I wanted to showcase. Uh, a pretty neat malware. I really impressed with this. We did some significant job, and yeah, this is what I exactly wanted to showcase. Hope you really enjoyed this and you have learned something new from this. If you really did, if you really feel this video is very useful to you, don't hesitate to hit the like button and consider subscribing my channel. If you have any other opinion, put it in the comment section. I'll be reading those, and you can also share this video among your friends. I'll catch you next time with another exciting and excellent video. Until then, I'm signing off. Cheers and love you guys.